Welcome to Nerds with a Creative Podcast, Episode 4. I am your host, Charlie Morris, joined as always by my co-host,
Dalton Lewis.
And today we have special guest.
Hi, I'm Steven.
Steven Peppers.
Yeah, my name is Steven Peppers. Peppers Productions.
Yeah, Peppers Productions. Awesome.
Yep. PP.
So,
it's called alliteration, guys.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself. What brings you here? Run us through how you got here in this moment.
All right, so last night, you
No,
called
farther.
me.
Farther.
Much further.
All right, so back in 2003, my parents...
Okay.
Too far.
All right.
In
not
only
that.
2003.
Wow. No.
How far do you want me to go in the beginning?
Briefly run us through
Oh,
your
yeah.
filmmaking journey and then how you ended up connecting with us and how you got here.
Okay, so I guess when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I was a huge Batman fan, and I wanted to watch the big Batman movies, so like Dark Knight, Batman Begins, those, and then like Batman '89, all this kind of stuff. But I was also young, and my parents were kind of strict, and they wouldn't let me watch those. And so I was like, well, if I can't watch those, I might as well just make a Batman movie. So I wrote several Batman movie scripts from the time I was like 8 until I was about, 11. They're okay, I guess.
Do you still have any of them?
I do still have them. And
I would love
I will show you, man.
to read one.
So we never actually really got into production. We made costumes and stuff, and we filmed little, just me and my brother goofing around, playing around as Batman and Robin, but nothing really of any substance. Fast forward to when I was about 11, I watched this documentary called The Empire of Dreams, and it was a behind-the-scenes documentary about the making of the original trilogy, and
original Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah,
for the uninformed nerd.
And it kind of opened up this whole world of filmmaking is this kind of really cool thing where, George Lucas kind of did something that was outside of the box for his time. Okay, that's kind of cool. I kind of liked watching to see just how Star Wars was made because I really like Star Wars. And then I started watching the prequels and then the behind the scenes that were with them because they did a really good job of documenting how they made those.
Those behind the scenes are awesome.
Oh yeah,
I'll still watch them to this day.
And I noticed they were using blue screens and green screens, and I thought, I bet I could do that. So I had a laptop that I got for Christmas. It was terrible, but that's probably getting too far from the point. 2 gigs of RAM Walmart laptop. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Anyway, so I went on Google
incredible.
and just looked up free green screen software, and I found some. And I had bunk beds in my room. And I had you guys remember Snuggies, those blankets?
Oh yeah.
I had a blue one of those.
I was too old for
So
Snuggies, but
I draped that thing across my bunk bed
nice.
and sat in front of it and filmed on a $30 cheap Vivitar camera or something.
Oh yes.
And I learned how to do green screen, and it just was so cool. And then I eventually saved up money and bought a really, really nice camcorder. I thought at the time it was a Samsung camcorder. It was probably $150 or something like that. But definitely a step up from that $30 Vivitar camera.
Right.
And,
well, when you're a kid, though, $150 is all the money
insane.
in the world.
And so we just started making videos, and on that camera there was a pause button, and so you could record and pause it. So I learned if I got somebody behind the camera, I could film and jump up. They could hit pause. I could walk out of frame and they could resume it, and it would look like I just disappeared. So we started editing in camera and stuff. And then
that's crazy. I used to do that too on
Interesting.
on the JVC, the
Yeah,
JVC
yeah.
camera.
Well, that's just, when I was real young, we had the family video recorder was tape.
Yeah.
So there was the pause function you're describing is essentially stop recording on those old tape cameras.
Oh yeah.
So that's the kind of effect that's why I was really confused when you're we paused it.
Yeah,
What do you mean? Just stop recording?
No, I had an SD card, man. Probably like a
You kids.
Probably like a 4 gigabyte SD card or something.
Oh,
but anyway,
yeah.
and so I eventually I got a better computer, guys. Like this was really cool. Like I bought a it was like a old Dell computer that was like refurbished or something on Amazon. It came with a monitor, keyboard, mouse, and the computer. And get this, Core 2 Duo, 4 gigs of RAM. Like I could actually get the minimum requirements met for some editing software with this. My aunt got me a copy of Corel Video Studio for Christmas, and I took that, and with a camera, I just started making videos, and from there, I learned different, just filming and editing techniques. I started a YouTube channel that has over like 400 videos on it now, and then at some point, my mom was talking to a friend of ours, and she heard about this online Christian film school when she was at a homeschool conference, and it was called Tomorrow's Filmmakers. So we kind of looked at it, and I watched a couple of like their free episodes or whatever. I was like, oh, that was cool.
Shout out Tomorrow's Filmmakers. Shout out Justice.
Yeah, so we signed up for that, and they had like different plans or whatever. So we did like just a month just to see how it was, and I spent probably every day of that month just watching everything I could, and it was just fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Just learning as much, as I possibly could. And one of the great things about that film school was that they had a Facebook group. And I was I was like 11 or 12, so I didn't have Facebook, and so I still don't have a Facebook account. I still haven't made one.
To this day,
but you're like well within the acceptable range
yeah.
of Facebook became for old people.
I'm still probably gonna make one at some point.
I'm on the edge of like young people used Facebook, like when I was like growing up, but now like forget about it.
Right. So anyway, I used my mom's Facebook account. That, with her permission, obviously, guys, and joined the
shout out to parental permission.
100%. So I joined the Facebook group, and people were posting stuff, and it was really cool to see other people's videos, and I could share it and get feedback. And there was this guy on there that kept posting this really cool stuff. He did like some nerdy stuff, like with Star Wars and other stuff. This guy's name was I think Dalton Lewis.
Bum, bum, bum.
And he said something about being from Georgia. And I don't remember how, but at some point I ended up following him on Twitter.
Yep.
Because my parents let me have Twitter but not Facebook.
Which is
that I don't get.
Which is hilarious because Twitter has like
so
zero guidelines.
Yeah. Twitter is way more like
I don't know.
Controversial than
it's
Facebook.
It's kind of hilarious, but it worked out because Twitter has DMs, and I just started texting Dalton, and we kind of just started. We enjoyed a lot of the same things. We had similar interests, and in 2017, so I guess it would have been. I don't want to think about how old I was. I don't know. I was like,
you were really.
I was like
young.
13, maybe 12 or 13.
I remember being like 16, about to turn 16, like because like I could drive. It was like a fresh thing that I could drive.
Yeah. So I was texting with Dalton. We're like, hey, there's this there's this homeschool conference in Atlanta where our film teacher was actually going to be there. So he's like, well, are you going to go? You're in Georgia. I was like, yeah, we can go to that. And so my mom was like. I told my mom, she's like, oh, you're talking to some 16-year-old kid on Twitter? So I'm like, no, it's cool. I met him on the Facebook group. It's going to be fine. I think she ended up becoming Facebook friends with your mom just to make sure that you weren't like some stranger or something.
Well, I think even during our time talking on Twitter, they had already began talking to
just
each
a little
other
bit
about like other homeschool stuff too. So yeah.
And so we went to the oh gosh, what was it called? The Teach Them Diligently 2017, and I made a video, and
TTD.
Yeah. I was like no longer homeschooled like a year or two after that, but that's a different story. Anyway, so I finally met Dalton, and I think he was taller than me at the time.
Well, you met me. Salem was there too.
He came in like the next day, but like I met you on the first day, and we just immediately kind of hit it off. And I remember one of the things that we were talking about.
Sparks were flying, everybody.
Yeah. I remember
love was in the air. Brotherly love.
I remember one of the first things that we talked about was our film instructor, in his setup that he had for those early lessons, he was like standing behind a desk, and there was an episode where he had tripods, and he had this tripod behind him that looked just massive, like it was taller than him, and we were like, I wonder how tall Justice is, because like if he's like 6 feet tall, that is a monster tripod. Turns out the dude's like 5'3". Maybe.
Hey, put some respect on his name.
Oh yeah,
he's got to be taller than that.
He's got to be at least 5'4".
So like all right. His height begins with a 5, not a 6. So tripod was probably a decent height, but not anything crazy. And it was just kind of cool meeting with him, and I talked to him all the time or whatever. But also just kind of meeting Dalton was a really cool experience. And then fast forward, like I think a year later, I was at Six Flags with my mom and my brothers, and
what a wild day!
Yeah, so we went. My brothers wanted to do the Daredevil, and I was like, come on, guys. I don't want to do this. I mean, I don't mind the roller coaster, but the line always takes forever because you can only put like 6 people on at a time. So we got in the line or whatever, and we start wrapping around, and what do you know? There's a dude, 3 or 4 people in front of us. It's Dalton, his sister, and his mom.
Oh, and the funniest thing about that day, my mom specifically, I was dying to have a friend come with me because I didn't want to just go to Six Flags and hang out with them that day. Like I
didn't want to either.
I didn't want to just go hang out with like them because I was with them all the time. Like I was like, I want to invite a friend.
Way to phrase that in the least offensive way you can possibly say.
Yeah.
I don't want to hang out with my mom and sister.
Because I hung out with them all the time. I was homeschooled.
Right.
And
naturally.
So I was like, I want to.
Which is also why you couldn't invite a friend there because you were like, I don't have any.
They all had school, yeah, but no.
They go to school in Canada. It's
my mom.
You don't know them. It's okay. They go to a different school.
My mom was just like, no, it's gonna be like a family day, whatever. And then I was like, and I walked in, I saw him, and I was like, yes,
I'm saved.
So we waited in that entire line together, and we were just talking about different stuff. We rode the ride, and then our moms were like, yeah, they're going to want to hang out the rest of the day, aren't they?
Yeah.
And we did, and it was fun.
Are you forgetting a key part of what happened that day?
You got like a gimbal or something delivered to you?
No. The person that we met.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So then we went to go ride the Batman ride, which it's great. You get to go through the Batcave.
Not to be confused with the Batman movie or the Batman
or
cartoon.
any of the Batman IP. This was specifically the roller coaster in Georgia.
It's a fun one.
Anyway, so we're in line, and Dalton's mom happens to notice that behind us is Stephen Kendrick. So, the Kendrick brothers make
I've met
Christian
the
films,
Kendrick brothers.
And so
And
we were like,
very
yo,
different
this is
circumstances.
crazy. So we were like, hey, we're fans. Can we get a picture? And so we did. And so Dalton posted our picture on the Facebook group. He's like, well, ran into Stephen Peppers at Six Flags, then Stephen Kendrick. Kind of a crazy day. And that post kind of blew up in that little Facebook group.
So funny.
Can I pause you for a second? Because you've opened the door.
Yeah.
Is this your story?
I don't even, should I tell this on the
You absolutely
on the podcast?
should, but let's get through his intro.
Okay.
All right. Man, this is a long intro.
Brief.
So now I got to get to where I meet Charlie. So
That was like...
So we just kind of worked together on various projects after that. We always send each other's work, all that stuff. We just started kind of becoming friends over that time.
yeah.
Charlie kind of comes into the equation. When was the first time you met him?
It was the Make It Big shoot.
Wait.
Ironically made it very small.
What was that the day?
Yeah.
I guess it was.
wild.
No, that's definitely the first time we met.
So
Yeah.
I had the shoot. This is the first music video shoot that I ever did that never came out.
Shout out to Luke.
R.I.P.
Shout
we
out,
love you, bro.
Shout out Luke Rodman.
We do love Luke.
Just pay
Yeah,
us next time.
We got paid. You and
Yeah,
I.
we did.
You and I got
Dalton
paid.
lost money on that project.
There's a lot of stories to come out of that project.
That's a whole story.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll bring Luke here and have a whole episode
Absolutely.
about this.
That's also the first day I met Ben. I just met so many cool people that day.
So that during this time, I had kind of established the company to have a couple contractors, a couple, like employees, and I brought all of them together. I had everybody that I had do any sort of contract work for me all come together in that set for like a big. I wanted to make it a big deal.
The Avengers were assembling.
He wanted to make it big.
I wanted to make it big because it was my first music video shoot, and so I think that's when they kind of met, and then
So I was brought on as the DP, who ended up doing very little DPing because Dalton was like, you know what, give me the camera.
Much love to Dalton Lewis. We love Dalton,
but if you're
Dalton loves to
DP,
assign position titles as just a way of like, I just want you around.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you this title, but like you're doing whatever.
Look, Charlie was brought on to hold a freaking reflector outside.
Well, I'm the biggest example of that, like BS example of titles. Because like we've talked like for years about like whatever my title in the company is, and we still don't know.
You still don't know.
Like I'm just guy who does stuff, you know. Like I'm important. I'm not lame.
You're guy who does stuff, but simultaneously are more important than anyone who has a real position.
Right, exactly. So I'm just
And the funny thing about that too is like I've gotten way better about that now. Like I do stuff now on shoots, and like. Most of the titles I give people actually make sense.
Right.
They end up doing their job. But at that point, I just hadn't worked with any sort of a team like that in that capacity where I was in charge of it. And I think everybody does that. A lot of directors I've seen, the first time they get their hands with a team, they give people jobs, and it's just kind of everyone's doing their best.
yeah.
And I think part of that is when you're working with most of the time you're just working with your friends, right? I mean, unless you know a lot of other creative people or people that are interested in joining in either the film industry or whatever it is you're doing, most of the time you know how to do everything. And on some of those earlier projects, you're kind of having to show them what to do to get the things to work. But on that shoot, we all know what we were doing.
Yeah.
But you didn't know that we all knew that we were doing. I mean, you did, but...
And a lot of it came from the idea of I had a shot in my head, but it would take more time for me to explain that shot to you than it would for me to just do it. And we were on like a time schedule for part of the day.
And you know, I guess it was fine
because
I got paid at the end of the day.
If we would have storyboarded that video out, that wouldn't have happened because you would have already had the vision for the shot.
Yeah.
And we just didn't.
Yeah.
The thing though about it is that like we were all still important. Like that's the key thing to me. I don't really care if I'm not doing whatever my title is, as long as I'm contributing something. And I felt personally I was contributing, and I felt good about it.
Yeah.
COVID didn't make us sick, and we were making it big.
Do we want to talk about the great breakfast debacle of that day?
Oh man, I don't know. Do we have time?
Classic. Yeah, we'll make it quick.
Yeah.
Listen, night before, we're all assembled in a group chat.
That was technically the first time I talked to you, other than text, was in that FaceTime call.
That's right. And Dalton.
No, I thought this was like multiple nights before.
No, it was the night before.
Yeah. And Dalton goes, hey, make sure you guys send your breakfast orders in the group chat. First person who sends it is me. And I had a very simple, I want a chicken biscuit and I want a drink. That's all I want. And then the day of shooting arrives.
And Dalton said, I want to pretend like you didn't send that message.
And he's pulling out minis and hash browns and giving them to their respective people. And before I know it, the bag is empty and I have no food. And I said, Dalton, where is my food? And this man has the audacity to tell me, you didn't send me an order. I was the first! Anyway, so...
And I feel bad about it to this day.
I was never fed on the Make It
Actually, no, because we all went to lunch, and he paid for that, too.
That's true.
We went to Moe's for lunch.
That's true.
Yep.
You were fed.
I was fed.
We were welcome to Moe's.
Look, you know what the most important meal of the day is? Breakfast.
Okay. So, yeah. That's kind of how we are, how we got where we are today. We all work on things.
Yep.
We are all friends that work on things.
Friends that work on
things.
That
is a fact.
So, run us through your Kendrick Brothers story.
Listen, so, for any who don't know in the audience, and I feel like most of the audience will recognize faith films such as Courageous.
Oh, of course.
And Fireproof.
The 5 of you listening to this have probably seen these movies.
Most of them are, most of the ones that are recognizable of faith films come from these two guys, Alex and Stephen Kendrick.
Yep.
Right? So I went to this sort of gap year program a while ago. Shout out to Impact 360. and we had to give a final project. It was academic based. We had to give a final project on something in the world we thought wasn't what it should be. And I said Christian movies because they're bad. I don't like them. And my opinion has softened over the years, but at the time I was very harsh with like, this is dumb. And I specifically talked about Kendrick Brothers movies. I said that they were not the greatest offenders by any means.
The least bad.
Yes, they are definitely the least bad.
Definitely the least bad.
So fast forward years later, I'm helping out with interviews for the incoming students for the next year of the gap year, right? And I'm talking to this kid, and we're just making conversation. I feel like I shouldn't be telling this story. We're making conversation. He's a big movie guy, so we talk about movies, and then he talked about how he was on like Christian movie sets, and I was like, okay, do I want to tell him what I really think, or do I just want to be nice? And I was like, he's being interviewed, he's probably nervous, so like, you know, I didn't volunteer my opinion on these movies, but he was like, yeah, I was on these
Good
like
call.
Christian movie sets, and he was like, I was on the set of like Courageous, like I was an extra in the background. I was like, oh, that's cool, you must have been really young, because the kid's like 18.
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, I was even like in Fireproof, and I was like,
Did you
were,
burn?
like, really young. And I was like, what were you doing like on the set? And he was like, oh, I was napping in like the upstairs room while they were filming. I was like, what are you talking about?
Is he like a church
And-
member?
No.
No.
I looked at his name tag then, Steven, and I'm not going to use his real name. His last name was Kendrick. And it was like a moment of, he was like, he knows.
Was
It
he the wait? Was he in Flywheel?
I don't
was he
know.
the kid
No,
in the-
Flywheel was like Flywheel, I think, came before me, which would have definitely come before
Right.
this kid.
Okay.
But anyway, his freaking dad is Alex Kendrick. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I was just thanking God with everything I had that I didn't say anything
just
else.
trash on his dad's work.
But the funny thing is, later I went to, like, one of my friends had been working there. And I went to her and I was like, did you know this kid was this kid? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, and you didn't tell me? And she was like, I didn't think you would just rant about stuff. And I was like, do you know me? I was like, that was my final project. If he had asked me about that, what would I have said? Anyway, so the kid got into the program, so I've seen him a couple more times since. So if he's by some chance watching, I hope he's not. I'm sorry. And I have no ill will towards you or your family.
Great story, Charlie. So, Steven, now is the bit of the podcast where I'm going to talk about your recent investment, we'll say.
Okay.
So, do you have any hobbies?
So I like making movies. I like making videos.
You know what I'm asking about.
And I like watching movies. And
I don't know what this
like,
investment is. I want to hear about that.
There's
What did you just spend a lot of money on?
insurance. No, okay.
Are we thinking about the same thing?
Yeah.
Like the
We're talking about the bat suit, guys.
cool. So break that down.
All right. So you made a recent investment.
Yes.
Break that down for us. What did you just recently spend a large amount of money on?
Okay, so one of the things I share in common with Charlie
Yes,
is that I am a big Batman fan. Dalton's a
Huge.
Batman fan too.
but we're huge.
But we're huge Batman fans. And one of the great things about making videos, like doing weddings and all this kind of stuff, is that you get paid to do that.
Yeah.
And when you
You
get
do get
paid as like
And when
a
you-
teenager in high school
when you're
who
in
doesn't
high
pay for a
school-
lot of expenses.
And when you're in high school and you live with your parents,
yeah.
and you're pretty much just paying for your gas and like whenever you want to go eat out, you have a decent amount of money just to spend on things that you want to spend it on.
Yes.
So I started looking, and around I guess maybe September of last year, so almost a year ago, I decided I was gonna buy a bat suit. movie replica like quality bat suit.
Dalton's in disbelief that you can just buy a bat suit.
What is this monstrosity? All right.
Snorted water through my nose. Oh my gosh.
Okay. So
Dalton doesn't do the hard stuff, just water.
So
Continue.
you know, I like Batman. I don't like all of the bat suits. I have like 4 favorite ones. And Charlie, we were talking about this earlier. So
Yeah.
can you tell him what are my 4 favorite bat suits?
All right. The Michael Keaton 1989
89.
bat suit. For those
Yep.
of you who don't know, it's different from the sequel.
It is.
All right. Dark Knight suit, one by Christian Bale. The classic 60s Adam West bat suit.
Yep.
And then a classic comic book
Yeah.
rendition.
So looking into this, I think the easiest one to start on is the 89 Batsuit because there's so many people that create the different parts for it. So I was looking and watching YouTube and going through forums and Instagram, just trying to find, where I could get all the best pieces. And the first thing I got for the suit was the cowl. So the cowl is made by this guy. His name is Paul Roberts. He goes by Artsy1. And he's been sculpting since he was a teenager or whatever. And he sculpted his first Batman cowl the year after Batman Returns came out. And so he started doing that.
So 1993?
It'd be 93, yeah. So he's been doing it for about 30 years now.
That's crazy.
And so he started sculpting. He also has an 89 sculpt. And one of the things that he does that makes his cowls different from some other people is he uses latex to mold his cowls. A lot of people like to use urethane rubber, which is nice. It's a cheaper material, but the thing about urethane is it's easy to tear, whereas latex is really durable. And
Not good for fighting crime.
Right, so
Yeah.
I was like, well, if I'm going to spend a lot of money on this, I want something that's going to last me for a while. And he said that he's had some cows that have lasted all 30 years. Like, he still has, like, his first ones. So Christmas was kind of rolling around, and my parents were like, well, what do you want for Christmas? And I was like, well, here's an Etsy link. So for Christmas, I got the cowl, which was really cool. And then, so the suit is composed of a couple different parts. So you have the cowl. You have the emblem that goes on top of the cowl. You have the cape. You have the muscle suit. You have gloves, gauntlets, utility belt, and boots. So the cape was something that I knew I wanted to get right. Now, in the movie, the cape is made out of latex, and it's kind of heavy. And the guy that made the cowl also made the cape, but the cape was like $500. And I really didn't want to spend $500 and get a latex cape that was really heavy when I knew there was another way I could do it. And I found this tutorial on YouTube where this guy talked about how to make a Batman cape out of pleather. And I showed the video to my grandmother. I was like, well, do you think this is something we could do? Because she does the quilts of valor, and like, so she's always like sewing stuff.
What a cool grandma.
And so she was like, yeah. So we spent like $80 on pleather, and like that was their Christmas gift to me. So they bought the material.
We have to talk about like the sound of that cape.
Oh yeah,
It's
perfect. I mean,
magic.
It sounds like it does in the
I
movie.
have an incredible video on my Snapchat saved of me like walking across a parking deck, coming very, very close to him, and then right when I get really close to him, you just hear, and then the camera goes black.
Oh my god.
It's so
Beautiful.
good. And so my grandmother and I, we had a lot of fun making that. We sat down, like we just took a night and we started cutting it out. It's 6 panels. We got all those together. And within like a week, she got it sewn. And I got to try it on. But then she kept it until we had our Christmas thing. So I didn't get to have it for a little while. But then when I finally got it, it was just super cool. The gloves, I don't have screen accurate gloves yet. It's something that I'll probably...
Fake fan.
Yep. Right. It's something I'm looking at upgrading soon. It's like a $200 upgrade or whatever. So I'll do that eventually. But I got just like some $20 gloves, leather gloves on Amazon. And then I got these like $60 gauntlets on Etsy that are kind of cool that have the metal. But at some point I will get the actual like 89 style of those. Then I got some cosplay boots, which are kind of common to find, like superhero cosplay boots. I got those, I think, from a seller on eBay for like $50 or $60. And then I got the emblem from a guy on Etsy. It was 3D printed, so it was easy enough to attach to the suit with Velcro. And then I got the utility belt from another guy in California, and it's made out of urethane, but since it's a belt, it's more durable because you're not having to pull it over your head, so it doesn't move as much. So then I was starting to get all the pieces, and the last thing I needed was the muscle suit. And
because he doesn't have any muscles for himself, everybody. Hey, got him.
Even if I did, you still want to have the muscles.
Well, that's what, as a brief aside, superhero suits almost always have, even if it's not pronounced abs, you put muscle padding in the suit because no matter how ripped you get, you put that over.
Even Henry Cavill, when he was Superman, had
and that man is jacked.
Yeah, on his suit.
But you try to cram that in a suit, and it just skinnies the heroes.
And so
as much as Steven doesn't have muscle, even if he did.
Even if I did, I would still need a muscle suit. So I found the one I was going to get. It was on Etsy. I'd been buying everything on Etsy at this point. It was like $300. It was this pleather muscle suit. It was kind of cool. It was, it had like a zipper on the front so you could like pee out of it if you needed to or whatever.
Very important.
And I was going to order it. I was saving up money. I had like a month or so on the date that I was going to have all the money saved up because I still want to take in the income that I'm getting and put it aside for like actual expenses.
Like the future.
Actual savings. So I had a plan of like when I was going to buy all this stuff. And probably about a month before I was about to say, yeah, I'm going to buy this, Russia declared war on Ukraine, and that muscle suit was made by a dude in Russia. So there was no chance of me getting this because Etsy blocked all of the people that made products in Russia so that you couldn't buy it from them. Even now, that guy, you can't sell it. And even if I was able to buy it, it probably would have got held in customs because it's Russian, just some sort of Russian contraband package or whatever.
It's not like that, Mr. Biden. I just want the muscles.
I promise. I just wanted my suit. And so I was kind of, just upset or whatever. And I was like, well, I'll find something eventually. So I scoured through Instagram just looking at different options.
And there was a while there where you had everything but the muscle suit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And I finally settled on Superhero Concepts. They're a team based in Australia, and they had this 89 suit, and it's the guy gave me a price. I don't know if I'm technically supposed to share it or whatever, just in case in case they change it. But let's just say it was significantly more than the Russian muscle suit, but it was accurate to the design of 89.
Well, kangaroo delivery is not cheap there, Steve.
No.
Obviously.
Plus, they have to make it upside down.
Anyway.
So,
I have a friend who actually once said British or Australians are just upside down British people.
No, it's just redneck British people.
No, they're upside down British people.
Upside down.
They may or may not have been. They may or may not have been a little bit intoxicated when they said that, but.
Anyway, so I was
you know who you are.
I was like, okay, well, I gotta save more money. It's gonna take longer for me to get this. I ended up booking a wedding that another videographer canceled on like the day of the wedding.
Oh,
I got a call at 8:00 in the morning. They're like, hey, can you come film our wedding? I was like, I'm actually not doing anything. The answer is yes, and I made enough on that wedding to pay for the new suit.
Can I just quickly ask, was that more anxiety-inducing or less to be like... Because I get nervous around wedding stuff because there's one take for everything. But, at least I have time to mentally prepare. But on the other hand, if you're the replacement guy, it's like, well, it's not my fault if something comes about bad.
All right, so I know the guy who canceled. And this person was just starting to get into wedding video. Good wedding photographer, but just starting to get into video. So
you were
like,
I'm going to be.
And so I got it, and then I got a second shooter on the project. And because I was able to get one that day. It was crazy.
Nice.
He actually, the groom's dad actually called him because he knew him. And then Levi, who was the guy I worked with, he was like, hey, Steven, come on, let's do this. We can film it together. I'll give you 70% and I'll get 30%. So it was cool. So we went up, we shot the wedding, and blew their minds out of the water. It was such a good video. It's probably one of my favorite wedding videos I've actually made. Which is crazy. It was a really cool backyard wedding, and they had a fantastic backyard. And so that was fun. And then I decided, okay, I'm gonna wait until I think it was like January or February, maybe even later. I don't know. It was earlier this year to buy the muscle suit. And so, like a month before I decided that, Superhero Concepts, which is the company I bought it from, put out a new design. They upgraded their 89 design with a new sculpt. And so their muscles were better. Like everything was better. So I was like one of the first people to get this. So I sent him in all my measurements. We had a lot of different just conversations on Instagram through DMs and stuff. And then in July, when I got back from a mission trip I was on in Texas, there was a package from Australia.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I got home at like 10:30 that night.
And you're like,
and I opened that box and put that suit on.
Oh, yeah.
You were like, I gotta grab it before it boomerangs back.
Yeah.
Well, and so I have a little bit of story now. There was a time that you came over. It might have been a little before you got the muscle suit. It was really entertaining. We were just sitting around the house. We were bored one day, didn't have anything to do, and we're like, "Yo, you want to go put on the Batman suit and just walk around Walmart?" And
so I was wearing
like,
black pants like this and a dark jacket. So I had everything else.
Yeah.
And so it still looked like Batman.
It still looked pretty much like Batman, yeah. And so we go and we walk around Walmart, and everyone loves it. Like, everybody's like, "Yo, it's Batman!" Like, you had like little kids like getting their picture with you.
Yeah.
There was one point that the whole, like, basically the entire Walmart staff, there were like probably 10 or 12 employees that like stopped and got a group photo of all of the employees with Batman. It was great, and I was happy with that. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then he's like, "We got to keep going to other places." I was like, "Okay, sure." So we go and we walk around downtown, and everyone's like, "Yo, it's Batman! This is crazy!" And we put him on top of the Pope building.
Right.
And
got some cool pictures.
He's like looking over the edge, and like people on the ground are like, "Yo, Batman's up on top of that building."
There's this one lady from New York that I got my picture with. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to go back to New York and tell all my friends that I met Batman in Georgia and not New York."
I love the idea that someone down on the street was about to do something illegal, and they looked up at you and they're like, "Nope, this is a sign. I have to go away."
Then Dalton's like, "All right, we got to take it even further."
No, I didn't say that. No. Stop that. I was done. I was ready to go home. And then you were like, "No, bro, we got to keep going."
You had so much fun that you wanted to keep
the
going.
night sky beckons.
And he goes, "Bro, let's take it to the mall." And our mall...
To the mall. Don't get me started on the mall.
You can attest to this. Our mall is known for kind of being the place where things happen. There's a lot of crime that goes down there.
Like a week ago.
There was a shooting there less than a week ago.
It wasn't a shooting. It was a brawl.
Well, I heard there was a shooting too.
No, they released, like, the Douglas County Police Department released a statement. And they were like, there was no shooting evidence involved. It was just a giant fight, like a bunch of kids just fighting each other.
There's shootings there every few weeks.
There is shootings there. I remember once we were at a wedding filming, and I got a text because I worked at the mall at the time. And I was like, "Hey, just so you guys know, mall just got shot up again." And I was so nonchalant about, I was like, "Hey, mall got shot up again."
And so this mall is just known for wild things happening.
Yeah.
And it's
brawl at the mall.
It's a very...
That's a Phineas and Ferb reference. Shout out.
It's a very... it's a place where things happen. And so I was like... He was like, "Yo, we should just go take this to the mall." And I was like, I don't think that's the best idea.
When was it? Was like a Friday night? Like
Saturday afternoon.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like...
I was like 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. Like... And he was like, "Yeah, but there was a lot of people." I was like... It's just not going to be the same as Walmart. Because, like, Walmart, people just, like... They kind of hate their lives if they're at Walmart. So, like, Batman's, like, a sliver of hope. The mall, you're just, like... I just know it's not the same. Like, it didn't seem like a good idea to me.
But then I finally convinced him.
No,
Finally.
you just wouldn't stop.
Oh, come on.
That means you were convinced.
Come on.
You had the car.
I was riding
you
with
drove
you.
it.
I can't turn my head, so I had to.
Convinced means I thought it was a good idea. I didn't think it was a good idea. I reluctantly went along with it.
Here, you relented. How about that?
That's fair.
Sure.
Okay.
And
Sure.
So
He
I freaking hate
Hey.
when you're right about something and then the other person goes sure because they know you're right and they just don't want to give it to you.
Right,
Yeah.
Listen.
Screw you.
Hey. He bat caved.
leave.
This has been Nerds with a Creative Podcast.
Leave. Get out of here. And so anyway, so we go to the mall, and he was like, "This suit, like it's hot. I'm wearing like a jacket. It's warm, whatever. Like
I need to go up to Chick-fil-A and get a water.
He's like, I need water. I gotta have water. And so he goes.
I need water.
And so he goes to Chick-fil-A to get water, and as he goes to the door, immediately everybody's like, dude, it's Batman. Everybody's like pointing, they're going crazy. And
There were so many people there.
and eventually he just tries to get his water. And like that's all. And he ends up within 3 minutes has a crowd of like 40 people around him. So like even him walking, there's just this crowd of like 40 people following. By the time we're like about to leave, it was probably about 50. And it's like whole families, parents with their kids. It's like a mob probably the size of this room. And he's like blocking entire walkways. It's like a hazard.
Now, keep in mind, this is like probably a month or two after the Batman came out. So Batman's like fresh on everybody's minds, and everybody's loving the Batman.
Yeah.
And
Steven isn't loving the Batman because he hadn't seen it yet. But
then I did, and I loved it.
And so I'm kind of walking off to the side because I'm like, I'm with this guy, but I'm not acting like I'm with this guy.
Shut up.
And
I'm not going to be the Robin to your Batman.
And so
No, he's not Alfred.
security, like, kind of has already came up and told him, like, look, you can be here. Just like, you kind of
go like in one area.
go off to the side so that you're not disrupting the flow of traffic type thing. And so,
And in character, I was like, yeah, let me just get this water really quick, and then we'll do that.
and so I see the other security guard come up and talk to the original security guard, and they're like, he's like, we got to get this guy out of here. The first guy's like, no, I think it's awesome. Like, what if you're gonna kick him out, you're gonna be the one to do it,
Right?
And he'll be like, okay, whatever. And he's like, it's just causing too much of a scene. It's a hazard. I understand it.
Yeah.
And so
Guy comes up to me.
I realize what's about to happen. So I ditch him. I leave out the door. And so, but
He wasn't kidding about not wanting to be seen with Batman.
for good reason though.
Get to that in just a second. So I'll take over from here. So
Okay.
I'm standing over there, and this other security guard who's a little bit younger walks up, and he's like, "Hey man, look, I think it's great what you're doing here, and we love having you here, man. But you're kind of causing your presence is kind of causing the crowd to get maybe a little bit out of control, and we don't want things to escalate. So now let me remind you, we like having you here, but if you're gonna stay, you're gonna have to take off the mask."
Dude, you're literally Batman being like pursued by the police.
And so
let's see what's under the mask.
And so I'm in character, right? And I'm like, no, I mean, like, yeah, I totally understand. Like, I see how my presence is kind of causing a disturbance. I can walk out. It's no problem. He's like, no, you can stay, but you got to take off the mask. And I was like, I'm thinking, dude, I'm Batman. I'm not about to take my mask off to reveal my secret identity. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll leave. So I started walking, and they were like kind of trying to escort me out. And people kept like swarming me, like trying to get pictures, like little kids, like moms would bring up their kids, and I was like, I need to take pictures with these people. And I like looked over, and he's like, yeah, go ahead.
and
so take pictures with Batman.
I'll sick the commissioner on you.
So at this point, I've ran out to the car. I get in the car, and I like roll the windows down, and I turn on the '89 Batman theme on the Bluetooth, and I like crank it up all the way. And so I see them like kind of escorting him out at this point, and so I just like
they're like 15 feet behind me, like.
But like they've just escorted him out the door. He starts walking, so I like whip out of my parking spot, music blaring. At one point, I squealed the tires, and I pull up, I stop, I like come to a real fast stop. He hops in the car. I just
with the windows rolled down.
With the windows down, blasting this music, and I like spun around the corner. I spun the tires as I went around the corner and just screeched out of the parking lot. And I went back the next day, and the security guard saw me pull in. It was the old guy. And he goes, what you did yesterday, he goes, that was wrong, but it was funny. He's like, that's the most interesting thing that's happened here in like a week.
In a week.
He's like, we've been talking about it since yesterday. I was like, appreciate you.
That was incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Anything that brings life to that joyless small. I say go for it.
But yeah, no, so we once you got the muscle suit, we've filmed this video, which I'm going to drop it on the company page soon because it is a cool little project. Filmed a Batman fight scene.
I, a Batman expert, couldn't be there.
No.
The 1 week that they were shooting, I couldn't be there.
But
I've still never seen this thing fully assembled in person.
More than just a Batman fight scene and a suit reveal. It is also a Dr. Pepper commercial.
Yeah, I don't know how that was in your intro that Steven loves Dr. Pepper.
I love Dr. Pepper almost as much. Oh, I gotta say that again. Editor, let me say this again since Dalton gets to say crap again. I love Dr. Pepper almost as much as I love like Batman and my family.
What like?
All right,
So just
back
for
in
the
like
taste?
back in like 2018 on Instagram on Valentine's Day, I did a photo shoot with me and Dr. Pepper.
That was so weird.
I had a ring box and I proposed to
It was weird.
to
yeah,
Dr.
it was-
Pepper.
it was really
There was
weird.
like me like smiling with it and everything.
Can I ask? I just want to point out something I've observed in life.
Okay.
Is that college-aged white girls love Dr. Pepper?
Really?
Yes. Like, even like my sister who doesn't drink soda, like if she was going to drink a soda, she would drink a Dr. Pepper. And when I was going to like summer camps and like all talking to like girl staffers, they would bring these giant packs of Dr. Pepper, like so that they could drink them when we were off. I was like, why do girls love Dr. Pepper this much? So Steven might be a college-age white girl in disguise. He's got the hair.
Or he's just like prepping for his type.
Oh no, that's good.
He's playing the long game.
He's like, can I get you a can of
Aha!
Dr.
Oh,
Pepper?
hey girl, you like Dr. Pepper? Utility belt, Batman suit. Here you go.
No, so like
we should also point out that there was at one point a batarang that went with this suit,
there was a batarang
and it was destroyed.
and it was a plastic display piece. Probably cost like $20. And I got it out to show it to them. And Elias.
We love Elias. Album Growing Pains just came out. It's fantastic.
Elias picks up the batarang and throws it across the parking lot. Just grabs it out of my hand, throws it across the parking lot. It lands, it breaks, and this man says, "Oh, it doesn't actually work?" Freaking duh! It doesn't work. Like
He was like, I thought it'd come back into my hand. This is crazy.
No, he goes. The best part was he picks it up and he goes, "Dude, does this actually work?" We say no. He winds back and throws it, and he goes, "Bro, it doesn't work." And we're like, "Yeah."
I was like, "You owe me $20."
That's such an Elias thing to say.
He's like, "Oh, sorry. Yeah, just give me a receipt for that, and I'll pay for it."
That's an incredible Elias impression.
Elias, please don't kill me.
Can I just, if we're talking about Elias, I love Elias. My favorite part about Elias, though, is that he'll ask me, like, for something like, hey, can I rent your camera for a day? Or, hey, can you help me move? Or whatever.
Hey, can I rent your
and
camera
I'm like,
for a day?
and I'm just like, yeah, you can just borrow my camera. It's fine. He's like, no, I'm gonna pay you. I'm gonna pay you for it. And then he doesn't pay me for it.
I would get
and I'm like, I don't care. You didn't have to.
I would get
He's
like
clearing his text history.
I would clear
Nice.
I would buy like a 20 case of like bubblies, like sparkling waters that I paid maybe $4 for.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime he borrows a can, like he could just ask, "Yo, can I have a can?" And I'd be like, "Sure, I don't care." Like I say, I don't care every time.
Right.
Every time he takes
did
one,
care.
he Venmos me like $1. And I'm like, you don't have to. And I tried that for
wait.
5 times. Then finally, I was just like, okay, I'll just take the dollar. I
income?
guess.
That's passive income.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's like you're my friend. Like I'll help you with this thing.
If you need
It's
a drink,
fine.
that's fine.
Brand new money making strategy: get roommates and make them pay you for your things.
Steven would actually make them pay though. He'd be like $2 a can.
I don't just give this stuff out, guys.
It's so funny.
Nah, it's funny because like I do give my friends Dr. Peppers. Like I'll buy them that, and when I do that,
You're like,
it
this is more
shows
valuable
them,
than gold.
It shows them that I am, like I think of you as a close friend. So like anytime I come over here,
Dude, my new goal is for
got some.
Steven to give me a Dr. Pepper.
Charlie,
What?
today's your lucky day. That's the seal of our friendship now.
This wasn't planned at all. Here, ready for the sweet sound? Ooh.
Oh, that sounded so good.
Oh my word.
Wow. Sorry.
So,
there it is.
That's a Coke trademark.
So
That's like one of their taglines, right? It's like Coke.
I started like challenging people to like drink a soda without saying afterwards for like $2, and I've had I've only had one person successfully do it and not say it.
Why haven't you challenged me,
You're never around.
bro?
But like, no, I'll just be like, yo, I'll give you $2 if you can like take 5.
you make that sound before
sips
you
of that
even
soda.
open the soda, Steven. That's how much you like Dr. Pepper.
And I'll give you like $2 if you can drink 5 sips without going afterwards.
Dude, that'd be hard for me. I'm not gonna lie.
The only person that has successfully done it is Nick Tate.
Shout out to Nick Tate.
Shout out Nick Tate.
So, Steven, we're gonna wrap up pretty soon here.
Okay.
Hit him with the question.
We're introducing a new segment called The Question. You get to be the first participant. I hope you're happy.
It's an honor and a privilege.
Yeah, so we're doing this at the end. I call it an icebreaker question, but we don't need to break the ice.
Right.
I also call it one of the greatest questions of all time. So,
I don't know if I'm ready for this.
you're not. Trust me.
Okay.
So here we go. So, Steven, if you could, and by could I mean you have to pick something. You can't just say nothing.
Okay.
If you could make any substance, solid, liquid, gas, it can be non-physical, but if you can make any substance flow in a continuous, never-ending stream out of your belly button, what would it be and why?
Okay.
Some clarifiers, okay?
All right.
You can slow it down, you can speed it up, but you can never fully stop it.
Yeah.
And whatever you pick, it is going to be the very best of that thing in the world. If you pick money, $100 bills all the time, which I don't recommend because you'll destroy the economy.
Yeah.
But those are my two things.
All right. So you may think I'm gonna say Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
I mean, it
did.
feels like a
I
pretty
did.
obvious response.
I did think
Right.
he was gonna say,
But
that.
that's not what I'm gonna say. And I'm also not gonna say money.
Okay.
There
Right,
are
because you don't want to destroy the
Right.
economy.
there are liquids that are that are valuable.
That was such a strong start. There are liquids
So
that are valuable.
it
doesn't have to be a liquid.
Oh, I
It
know. I
doesn't
know you
have
said.
to
I
be.
know you said it could,
Yeah.
but
Some of the best answers I've heard are music and Wi-Fi.
all right. So look.
So like it doesn't even have to be physical.
Oh gosh.
But anyway, you please
All right.
continue.
So
farts.
no,
Cameron's got that.
I
think,
would
already.
choose gasoline because
Ah.
you never have to go and pay for gas.
80,
You can always just
87.
Also,
yeah.
that's
you can
a
always just fill up your car whenever you need to.
that's a nice little side business there.
You don't have to
Cheap
pay
gasoline.
for it. You can sell it. I mean, you never run out of gas, right? Because if your car gets stuck on the side of the road, you just walk over, lift up your shirt, and change the speed of that sucker. And
But remind you, this stuff is always coming out.
right.
You're going to lose so many brain cells. from the smell of gasoline.
Bold of you to assume that I have those brain cells.
You're gonna have to like disconnect the parts of your nose that smell.
So like,
Well, another thing you could do with that ultimately would capitalize on the way you could make money. So I would say instead of making it like 87, like normal gasoline, make it whatever planes have, and then you can just because that's like more expensive, like jet fuel or whatever.
Yeah.
You could then make yourself like part of an airport permanently, and then you would be because I mean you go somewhere like Hartsfield Jackson, there are more planes taking off there than there are cars leaving and entering the mall.
Right,
so
but
it's you could make more money that way.
right, but at the same time, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in an airport. Having
Well, I mean, if gas is continually coming out of your belly button, where are you going to spend the rest of your
you're probably
life?
spending the rest of your life in a hospital or in a government facility. Shout out Area
Exactly.
51. But
Why
like,
I would rather be at an airport.
but no, like
personally.
if you can have, like you said, you can control how fast it is. So I mean,
Yeah.
you could probably have like what, a drop every hour.
yeah,
that's
because
sure
then
continuously
you
flush.
Sure.
then you could just like shove a napkin in there and
Yeah.
be good for like a social
guess
gathering.
that's true.
And like
For a
you
social
know,
gathering.
yeah, I mean, there's some ramifications that you could explore, and I'm sure it's maybe not the greatest choice, but at least
Imagine if you were a smoker, how risky that would be.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, yeah, let me head out back for a smoke.
Wait, no.
That'd be amazing.
you never want to walk on hot coals if you go to Hawaii, because if you fall, you're just dead. You land, and the first thing that goes is your belly button.
So-
you ever just want to like end like the world as we know it? Run up to a volcano,
Jump
with
in.
it, fast.
So, Dalton, since this is our first time talking about it on the podcast, you want to give your answer to the question?
What was my answer?
I don't know. It's been a while since we've talked about this.
I gave you an answer, but I forgot.
Well, give me
what
an
it
answer
was.
now.
I do like the answer of music that
Right.
somebody gave. That's pretty cool.
So that's I said somebody gave that to me and I called it one of the best. That was my answer.
So the question
actually.
is, can you choose the song?
Well,
Or is it
okay, here's
just
my
one
thing.
song?
Here's my thing. I said music. In my brain, though, I concocted the scenario where I think it would probably change depending on my mood. You know, so if I'm, happy, it's because
Okay.
I'm happy. But here's the problem, though. All right.
You can't hide your emotions.
Exactly. So I see a girl I like, and then it's like, wow, 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 and then I have to run, which will change the music again. So it's a never. Although I imagine it'll be worth it to walk into a room with the Imperial March playing.
Bro, and the second
Bum, bum,
you ever have to like, say you like wake up in the middle of the night, you're going to get some water, try not to wake up the rest of your family. It's just like da 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 da.
Okay, but then that becomes a problem when you go to the bathroom, right? Because then, like, you get like living on a prayer when you have diarrhea. What? Halfway there.
Well said.
Or,
Yeah.
Or push it real good.
Don't get
I was
anything?
not prepared for that one.
Or
I don't know.
hey, at your wedding, you get Rickroll when you're giving your vows.
Oh no.
Because you're never gonna give her up.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I thought you meant Rickrolled in
Or
the means of
like-
like, just kidding, I'm not marrying you.
No.
It's just Rick. It's just Rick
I
Astley.
genuinely think music though would be a good one because like I don't know, if I've got to have something weird come out of my belly button, that's probably the most manageable.
At that point, though, you honestly have to drop whatever career you have and be a DJ.
Facts. You just go to parties and run through emotions.
And then that way, when the party's like dead,
I
it just ends. You can't make it any better.
I just want my life to like be as much of like a movie as possible, so I want a soundtrack on it.
Charlie's the main character,
You
guys.
You know what? I actually no. I changed my answer.
No, you can't.
No, well, because that wasn't even his answer. It was my answer. He agreed.
I would say ultimately, because like no matter what it is, whether it's a good substance or a bad substance, whatever
Right.
it is definitely inconveniencing your life.
Yes.
So it's just kind of trash, regardless whether it's money or not. It's trash. So
Right,
I'm gonna say
Trash.
air.
Lame.
because that's the way it least affects my life. The worst it gets, my shirt does this a little bit.
Constantly, though.
Okay.
Your wife is going to be so cold under the covers because you're just blowing air constantly.
Bro,
But it can be hot air. Can it not?
Then she's going to be sweating under the covers.
Supposed to be better?
You can change it per the season. If it's winter, you blow hot old.
This is my question.
Bro,
I decide the rule.
Imagine going to the pool and it just always looks like you're
bubbles.
farting from the front of your body. Like you just have, like you're like a hot tub at that point.
Okay, well, imagine the weird image of on a hot day. You're like, "Hey, Dalton, can you lift up your shirt?" And you're just like,
The question
Thank
is,
you.
if you can control how much comes out, can you lay down and make yourself fly?
Steven is asking the real question.
the right
now.
questions.
Like, imagine like you're just laying down and you're like, well, crank it up to 20.
Well, I
Dalton,
feel
got anything else?
not really, not off the top of my head. So I think that wraps up a good introductory to Steven.
Steven, what have you you got working on? You want people to see?
This will not be your only time on this show.
Of course.
Good to know.
But yeah, no, what you got going on that the people should know about? Well, what do we got going on?
We're gonna
Great
be like
question,
we're gonna be like
Charlie.
hot
Thanks for
ones.
asking
This
that.
one, this one, this one.
Great question, Charlie, because you asked it first.
I'm Sean Evans. Sorry.
So
Tell me about that time you were 3 and you peed the bed. Do you still have those nightmares?
every day.
All right, no, please.
So right now I have a movie that's about to come out. It's called Pies in Disguise. We're premiering it at a theater that can seat like 500 people. So we're trying just to pack it.
Fantastic.
So super cool. I'm really excited. I've been working on that since 2020. And then we're working on developing another script, and that'll be fun. And I also work for a company where I do contract work for Motorola. And so I'll be going on some hurricanes and filming that.
Excellent.
Incredible. What do we got going on?
It's a great question.
Got some music videos in the works. Got a few storyboards to make. Some cool things coming soon.
Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for listening to the Nerds with a Creative podcast, the only podcast with less game than me and Steven in high school. Goodbye.
Mad facts.
That's it. It's over.
Cool.